You belong. They led Catherine away, still screaming threats. Elena watched, feeling tears streaming down her face. Not tears of sadness. Tears of relief. Justice. Finally. The confrontation. The commotion drew everyone from the ballroom, including Vivian and Marcus. Mother? Vivian's voice was small, confused. What's happening? Your mother is being arrested for murder, Elena said, turning to face her stepsister. My father's murder. Along with theft, fraud, and about a dozen other crimes. Vivian's perfect mask cracked. No. No, that's not, she wouldn't. She did, Alexander said. We have evidence of everything. Your mother's been stealing from wealthy families for over a decade. Elena's father discovered it. So she killed him. Marcus looked sick. Vivian, did you know? I didn't. Vivian stammered, but her eyes told a different story. She'd known. Maybe not everything, but enough. You helped her, Elena realized. The inheritance. The forged documents. You knew what she was doing. I had no choice. Vivian cried. She's my mother. She said we'd lose everything if I didn't help. Catherine's mask slipped slightly. Fine. I want in. Into what? Your marriage. I assume Alexander will propose tonight. That means you'll have access to the Blackwood fortune. I want you to help me secure certain investments. I'll make it worth your while. Elena's blood boiled. You want me to help you steal from Alexander? Like you stole from my father? Catherine's eyes went cold. Your father was weak. He couldn't protect what was his. That's not my fault. You killed him, Elena said, her voice shaking. You poisoned him. Prove it, Catherine hissed. You can't. You have no evidence. Just like you can't prove I stole anything. Your father was a bad businessman who ran his company into the ground. I simply helped things along. You're a monster. I'm a survivor, Catherine corrected. And if you're smart, you'll survive too. Help me with Alexander, or I'll destroy you just like I destroyed your father. I'll make sure Alexander learns every embarrassing thing about you. Every weakness. Every insecurity. I'll ruin you. No, said a voice from the doorway. You won't. Catherine spun around. Alexander stood there, holding his phone. Recording. That was a very thorough confession, Alexander said coldly. Thank you. Catherine's face went white. You were recording? That's illegal. Actually, it's not. This is a one-party consent state. Elena consented to being recorded. You just confessed to theft, fraud, and murder. Behind Alexander, police officers appeared. Real ones. Detective Rodriguez, who had been investigating Catherine for months, stepped forward. Catherine Walsh, you're under arrest, she said, pulling out handcuffs. Catherine lunged at Elena, but Alexander was faster. He pulled Elena behind him, putting his body between her and Catherine. You little witch. Catherine screamed at Elena as officers restrained her. I'll destroy you. You'll do nothing, Alexander said firmly. Except spend the rest of your life in prison. Where? The gala begins. The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, hundreds of guests in formal wear, an orchestra playing classical music. Elena entered on Alexander's arm, her head high, her smile confident. She wasn't the broken girl from 4 months ago. She was someone new. Someone strong. Vivian spotted them immediately. She wore a white gown that was probably meant to look innocent but came across as trying too hard. Marcus stood beside her, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. Catherine, Vivian's mother, glided over with predatory grace. She was beautiful for her age, with Vivian's golden hair and sharp green eyes. "Alexander," Catherine purred. "So lovely to see you." "And Elena, darling, you look almost pretty tonight." The insult was subtle but clear. Elena smiled sweetly. "Thank you, Catherine. You look exactly as I remember." Alexander coughed to hide a laugh. Catherine's eyes narrowed. "I hear congratulations may be in order," Catherine continued, her attention fully on Alexander now. "A special announcement tonight? How exciting." "You'll have to wait and see," Alexander said mysteriously. Elena watched Catherine's mind working. She was calculating, planning. The trap was working. The private meeting. An hour into the gala, Alexander was called away for a business matter. This was part of the plan. It left Elena alone, vulnerable. Bait. Catherine approached within minutes. "Elena, dear, could we talk? Privately?" Elena wanted to refuse, but this was what they'd been waiting for. "Of course." Catherine led her to a private terrace overlooking the city. They were alone. "I want to apologize," Catherine said, and she almost sounded sincere. "For how things went with you and Marcus. That was unfortunate." "Unfortunate," Elena repeated flatly. "That's one word for it." "Young love is complicated," Catherine continued. "But I'm glad you've moved on. Alexander Blackwood is quite a catch. Much better than Marcus, really." "Get to the point, Catherine." Elf moving closer. "Don't be sorry," she whispered. "Because I fell too." They kissed then. Soft at first, tentative, as if testing whether this was real. Then deeper, all the feelings they'd been hiding pouring out. When they broke apart, both were breathless. "This complicates things," Alexander said, touching her face gently. "Maybe," Elena agreed. "Or maybe it makes things simpler. We're not acting anymore. We're just us." "Us," Alexander repeated, smiling. "I like the sound of that." They held each other, knowing that what came next would be dangerous. They were planning to take down powerful, ruthless people. People who had already killed once. But they had each other now. Really had each other. And together, they were unstoppable. Part 3, Love's Final Reckoning, 2000 words. Setting the trap. The plan was set in motion at the annual charity gala, the biggest social event of the year. Everyone who mattered would be there, including Vivian, Marcus, and Catherine. Alexander announced he would be making a special announcement at the gala. Rumors immediately started spreading. Was he proposing to Elena? The gossip columns were wild with speculation. "This is it," Elena said the morning of the gala, butterflies rioting in her stomach. "Tonight we expose them." "Are you scared?" Alexander asked, helping her zip up her gown, a stunning emerald green creation that made her look like a queen. "Terrified," Elena admitted. "What if something goes wrong? What if they escape justice again?" Alexander turned her to face him. "Then we'll try again. And again. Until they pay for what they did. I promise you, Elena, your father will have justice." Elena kissed him, drawing strength from his certainty. They'd come so far. From strangers in the rain to partners in revenge to lovers. Real lovers. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Alexander said. "Now let's go make them pay." The plan takes shape. Over the next month, Elena and Alexander worked together every evening. They discovered that Vivian's mother, Catherine, was embezzling from multiple wealthy families. She would befriend them, gain their trust, then slowly steal from them while framing employees or business partners. Elena's father had been her biggest victim. Catherine had stolen nearly everything, then likely poisoned him to prevent exposure. "How do we prove it?" Elena asked one night, surrounded by documents. "We need her to confess," Alexander said. "Or we need to catch her in the act of another theft." She's too careful for that. Unless she has a reason to be careless, Alexander said, a plan forming in his eyes. What if she thought she'd found her biggest mark yet? Someone too rich, too trusting, too perfect to resist? Elena understood. You want to set a trap. Exactly. We'll make it look like I'm about to propose to you. That I'm planning to merge my fortune with yours through marriage. Catherine won't be able to resist trying to steal from the Blackwood fortune. It was risky. But it might work. There's a problem, Elena said quietly. If we're going to convince everyone you're about to propose, we need to seem really in love. More than we've been showing. Alexander was quiet for a moment. That means more public affection. More private time together. More intimacy. The word hung in the air between them. Can we do that without it becoming real? Elena asked, her heart pounding. Alexander looked at her, and Elena saw the truth in his eyes before he spoke it. Elena, I think it's already real. At least for me. Elena's breath caught. Alexander. I know, he said. I know we said no falling in love. I know this was supposed to be business. But somewhere between the dinners and the planning and watching you become this strong, amazing woman, I fell. I'm sorry. Elena should have been angry. Should have reminded him of their rules. Instead, she found hers. Killed. Elena's hands shook. Her father. Her kind, gentle father who had always protected her, even after remarrying. He'd been murdered? What are you doing? Elena jumped. Alexander stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. I found this, Elena said, holding up the report. You knew? You knew what they did to my father and you didn't tell me? Alexander sighed. I was going to tell you when you were ready. Ready? My father was murdered, Alexander. And you kept that from me? Because I knew you'd react exactly like this, Alexander said, moving closer. With rage instead of strategy. If you confront them now, they'll deny everything. We need proof. Real proof. That's what I've been working on. Elena stared at him. This is why you offered to help me. Not just because of your sister. Because you wanted to take down Vivian's family too. Yes, Alexander admitted. Vivian's mother does business with some very dangerous people. People who've hurt a lot of innocent families. I've been trying to expose them for years. When I saw what happened to you at that gallery, I saw an opportunity. A way in. So I'm what? Your pawn? Your spy? No, Alexander said firmly, gripping her shoulders. You're my partner. Everything I promised you is real. The revenge, the justice, all of it. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Elena wanted to be angry. Wanted to feel used. But when she looked into Alexander's eyes, she saw genuine concern. Genuine care? Show me everything, she said. Every document, every piece of evidence. If we're taking them down, we're doing it together. Alexander smiled, relief washing over his face. Together. I like the sound of that. They spent the next 3 hours going through documents. Building their case. Planning their attack. And somewhere in those hours, working side by side, something changed between them. It wasn't fake anymore. This partnership. This connection. It was becoming dangerously, beautifully real. Then, I've always preferred substance over superficiality. Elena's heart was pounding. She knew this was an act, knew Alexander was just playing his part. But the way he was looking at her felt real. Too real. They stayed at the party for another hour, making sure everyone saw them together, happy, obviously in love. When they finally left, Elena was exhausted from holding her performance together. In the car, she let out a long breath. Did we do it? Did we convince them? You were perfect, Alexander said, and he actually sounded proud. Vivian looked like she wanted to murder someone. Marcus couldn't stop staring at you. Good, Elena said fiercely. Let them stare. Let them wonder. Let them regret. Alexander studied her face in the dim light. You're different now. More confident. Is that a bad thing? No, Alexander said softly. It's exactly what I hoped would happen. They drove home in comfortable silence, and Elena realized something terrifying. She was starting to enjoy this. Not just the revenge part. The being with Alexander part. The way he looked at her. The way he made her feel seen. This was supposed to be business. But her heart was starting to forget that. Uncovering the truth. 2 weeks later, Elena made a discovery that changed everything. She was in Alexander's home office, looking for a book he'd mentioned. She accidentally knocked over a folder, and documents spilled across the floor. One caught her eye. A private investigator's report. About Vivian. Elena knew she shouldn't read it. But curiosity won. What she found made her blood run cold. Vivian hadn't just stolen Elena's father's inheritance. She had been stealing from his company for years before he died. Forging documents, moving money, framing other employees. Elena's father had discovered the theft and confronted Vivian's mother. 1 week later, he died of a sudden heart attack. The report suggested it might not have been natural causes. That Vivian's mother might have had him. Laughed at jokes. She was charming, poised, everything Vivian had said she could never be. Finally, inevitably, they reached Marcus and Vivian. Elena, Marcus said, his voice strangled. What are you doing here? Attending your engagement party, Elena said smoothly. Congratulations, by the way. I hope you'll be very happy together. Vivian's eyes were fixed on Alexander, wide with disbelief and, was that desire? You're dating Alexander Blackwood, she asked, her voice sharp. For about a month now, Elena said, leaning into Alexander slightly. We met at my art exhibition, actually. The one you so memorably attended. Alexander's arm went around Elena's waist, possessive and protective. Elena's work is extraordinary. I bought 3 of her paintings that night. I'm planning to feature them in my new gallery. This was news to Elena, but she kept her expression neutral. You're too kind, darling. You're opening a gallery? Vivian asked Alexander, completely ignoring Elena now. Yes, Alexander said coldly. For serious artists only. Not socialites playing at culture. The insult landed like a slap. Vivian fancied herself a patron of the arts, but everyone knew she only attended exhibitions to be seen, not to appreciate actual art. Marcus looked between Elena and Alexander, his expression troubled. Elena, can we talk? Privately? Why would we need to do that? Elena asked innocently. We have nothing to discuss. I want to explain. Marcus, Alexander interrupted, his voice like ice. The lady said no. I suggest you respect that and return to your fiancé. The way Alexander said fiancé made it sound like an insult. Marcus flushed red but backed away. Vivian tried to recover her composure. Well, I'm so happy you've moved on, Elena. Though I'm surprised someone like Alexander would be interested in someone so plain. I find Elena beautiful, Alexander said, looking down at Elena with an expression so tender it made her breath catch. But we're both broken, aren't we? Elena whispered. Alexander raised his wine glass. To broken people helping each other. At least until we're fixed. Elena clinked her glass against his, and something shifted between them. An understanding. A connection. Something that felt dangerous given their no falling in love rule. The first strike. For weeks after moving in with Alexander, Elena was ready for her first public appearance. The event was Marcus and Vivian's engagement party, held at the Grand Hotel, attended by everyone important in the city. Elena had received an invitation, obviously sent to mock her. Vivian probably expected her to hide in shame. Instead, Elena was going to walk in on Alexander Blackwood's arm. "Are you nervous?" Alexander asked as their car pulled up to the hotel. Elena wore a midnight blue gown that hugged her figure perfectly. Her hair was styled in soft waves. Diamond earrings, borrowed from Alexander, sparkled at her ears. She looked like a different person. She felt like a different person. Terrified, Elena admitted. But also, excited? Alexander smiled. Good. Remember what we practiced. You're confident, happy, completely over your ex. You're with me now, and I'm the prize they'll never have. He took her hand as they exited the car. Cameras flashed. Apparently, Alexander Blackwood attending an event with a mysterious woman was news. Elena kept her head high, her smile perfect, just as Margaret had taught her. Inside the ballroom, heads turned. Elena felt people staring, whispering. She saw Marcus across the room, his eyes widening in shock. Saw Vivian's jaw literally drop. "Show time," Alexander murmured, and guided her forward. The satisfaction of shock. They made their way through the crowd. Alexander introduced Elena to business associates, society people, everyone who mattered. Each introduction was the same: "This is Elena Rivers, my girlfriend." Elena played her part perfectly. She smiled, made intelligent conversation. Learning each other. Alexander was an enigma. Some days, he was warm and encouraging. Other days, he was cold and distant, working late in his home office. They had dinner together every evening, part of their arrangement. They needed to seem comfortable with each other, Alexander explained. To have chemistry that looked real. "Tell me about yourself," Elena said one night over pasta. "I'm supposed to be your girlfriend, but I know nothing about you." Alexander's jaw tightened. "There's nothing interesting to tell." "Everyone has a story," Elena pressed. "What made you become so ruthless?" "That's what people say about you. That you're brilliant but heartless." "Maybe I am," Alexander said, taking a sip of wine. "Does that scare you?" "No," Elena said honestly. "Heartless people don't help strangers in the rain." Something flickered in Alexander's eyes. For a moment, his mask cracked. "I had a sister," he said quietly. "Julia. She was kind, trusting, beautiful. She fell in love with the wrong man. A man who used her, stole from our family company, then left her broken. She took her own life 3 years ago." Elena's heart clenched. "Alexander, I'm so sorry." "The man who destroyed her married someone else 6 months later," Alexander continued, his voice hard. "He faced no consequences. No justice. Just moved on while my sister was buried. That's when I learned that kindness is weakness in this world. That to survive, you have to be harder than your enemies." "Is that why you're helping me?" Elena asked. "Because you see your sister in me?" "Maybe," Alexander admitted. "Or maybe I just hate people who hurt others for sport. Either way, our deal stands. You get your revenge, I get closure, I suppose." They sat in silence, both carrying wounds that hadn't healed. The transformation begins. Elena moved into Alexander's penthouse 3 days later. The apartment was massive, bigger than her entire childhood home. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of the city that took her breath away. Everything was expensive, modern, perfect. "Your room is down this hall," Alexander said, showing her to a bedroom that was larger than her old studio apartment. "The closet is already stocked with clothes. I had my assistant guess your size, but if anything doesn't fit, we'll get it tailored." Elena opened the closet door and gasped. Designer dresses, shoes, handbags. Things she'd only seen in magazines. This must have cost a fortune. "Consider it part of our arrangement," Alexander said. "You need to look the part." Over the next week, Elena's transformation began. Alexander hired a stylist named Carmen, a fierce woman with purple hair and sharp eyes. "You have good bone structure," Carmen said, circling Elena like a predator studying prey. "But you hide it. We're going to fix that." Elena got a new haircut. Her long, plain brown hair became a sleek, shoulder-length style with subtle highlights that made her gray eyes pop. Carmen taught her how to apply makeup, not too much, but enough to enhance her natural features. "You're not trying to look like your stepsister," Carmen explained. "You're trying to look like the best version of yourself." Then came the etiquette lessons. Alexander hired a woman named Margaret who taught Elena how to walk in heels, how to hold a wine glass, how to make conversation at fancy parties. "Posture, dear," Margaret would say, tapping Elena's back with a ruler. "You're dating one of the most powerful men in the city. Act like you belong." At night, Elena would practice in her room. Walking, talking, being someone else. It felt like playing dress-up, like being an actress in a play. But slowly, something changed. She started to believe it. Started to see a different woman in the mirror. Rukasa's cold eyes. The way everyone at the gallery had looked at her with pity. Elena walked through the revolving doors. The deal. Alexander's office was on the top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the entire city spread out below like a map. His desk was clean, organized, powerful. Everything about the space said, "Someone important works here." Alexander stood when she entered. He wore another expensive suit, this one dark blue. He looked like he'd been expecting her. "You came," he said, sounding pleased. "I almost didn't," Elena admitted. "This feels like a fairy tale. The powerful man swooping in to save the poor girl. Those stories never end well." "I'm not trying to save you," Alexander said. "I'm offering you a partnership. There's a difference." He gestured for her to sit. Elena perched on the edge of an expensive leather chair. "Here's what I'm proposing," Alexander began. "For the next 6 months, you'll pretend to be my girlfriend. We'll appear at social events together. You'll move into my penthouse. We'll be seen as a couple by everyone in our social circle." Elena's mouth fell open. "What? Why would you want that?" "I have my reasons," Alexander said carefully. "Reasons involving business and personal matters. But here's what you'll get out of it: a complete makeover, a new wardrobe, access to my world of wealth and power. Training in how to move in high society. And most importantly, you'll become someone your stepsister envies instead of mocks." "This is insane," Elena whispered. "Is it?" Alexander leaned forward. "Think about it, Elena. Right now, you're the girl who got humiliated at her own art show. 6 months from now, you could be the woman dating one of the country's most powerful men. You could walk into a room and make Vivian feel small for once. Make Marcus realize what an idiot he was." It was tempting. So tempting. "What's the catch?" Elena asked. "Nobody offers something like this without wanting something in return." "Alexander." "No," Alexander said firmly. "You're somebody they underestimated. And that's going to be their biggest mistake." He pulled out a business card and handed it to her. "Come to my office tomorrow at 10 a.m. I have a proposition for you. A business arrangement that could benefit us both." "What kind of arrangement?" Elena asked suspiciously. "The kind that will make your stepsister lose her smug smile," Alexander said. "The kind that will make your ex-fiancé realize he threw away something precious. The kind that will give you back your power." Elena looked at the card. Alexander Blackwood, CEO, Blackwood Industries. An address in the most expensive part of the city. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." Alexander stood up, preparing to leave. "Let's just say I have my own reasons for disliking people like your stepsister. People who use cruelty as entertainment. Come tomorrow, or don't." But if you want revenge, Elena Rivers, I can help you get it. He walked away, leaving her sitting in the rain with his business card in her hand. The decision. Elena didn't sleep that night. She sat in her apartment, staring at Alexander's card, thinking about everything that had happened. Marcus had used her. Vivian had betrayed her. Her stepmother had stolen her father's inheritance. They all thought she was nothing. A joke. Someone to be pitied and dismissed. Part of her wanted to just hide. To give up on art, on love, on everything. To become invisible and let them forget she existed. But another part of her, a part that had been quiet for so long, was screaming. It was angry. It wanted justice. It wanted them to pay for what they'd done. At 9:30 the next morning, Elena stood outside Blackwood Industries. The building was massive, all glass and steel, touching the sky like a giant's tower. She felt small in her simple jeans and sweater, clutching her portfolio bag like a shield. She almost turned around. Almost ran away. But then she remembered Vivian's laugh. Ma. Ibble. She had nothing. She was nothing. Just like Vivian said. Crying in the rain is very dramatic, but you'll catch a cold. Elena jumped. She hadn't heard anyone approach. A man stood a few feet away, holding a large black umbrella. He was tall, maybe in his early 30s, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to see right through her. He wore an expensive suit, and everything about him screamed wealth and power. Go away, Elena muttered, wiping her tears angrily. I was at your exhibition, he said, moving closer and holding the umbrella over her. I saw what happened. That was cruel. You saw my humiliation. Congratulations. Now leave me alone. Your paintings were beautiful, he continued, as if she hadn't spoken. Especially the one called Breaking Free. The way you used color to show pain transforming into strength, it was remarkable. Elena looked up at him, surprised. He had actually looked at her art? Really looked at it? I'm Alexander Blackwood, he said, extending his hand. Elena stared at him. Everyone knew that name. Alexander Blackwood, billionaire CEO, owner of half the city's real estate, one of the most powerful men in the country. And he was talking to her? I don't care who you are, Elena said, though her voice shook. Just leave me alone. Alexander smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who understood pain. What if I told you I could help you? What if I could give you the power to make everyone who hurt you regret it? The impossible offer. Elena should have walked away. Should have gone home, cried herself to sleep, and started rebuilding her life tomorrow. But something in Alexander's voice made her pause. What are you talking about? She asked. Alexander sat down on the bench beside her, still holding the umbrella over both of them. I saw how they treated you. Your stepsister, your ex-fiancée. They humiliated you because they think you're weak. Powerless. Nobody. I am nobody, Elena whispered. No, Alex.